the most impactful things that you will do to encourage people, you will never ever find out about. I think there's a grace aspect to encouragement. You ever hear that verse, well, you made your bed, lie in it. I don't know if I like that saying, because if I think about my life, if that was applied to me, then things wouldn't be good. Probably wouldn't be good for you either. We need grace. We need to encourage people who we like. We need to encourage people who we have a hard time encouraging as well. There's one more, and it is this, is that encouragement will reputationally go out of its way. I don't even know, is that such a word, reputationally? Well, it is today. And basically, this is an important thing because encouragement many times doesn't think about itself. Many times, encouragement goes incognito. Many times, encouragement will conceal its identity. It doesn't need the limelight. It will take the secondary seat. It has no fanfare. If you want to know what happens in Acts chapter 13, Acts chapter 13 at the beginning talks about the missionary journey that Paul and Barnabas go on. And it starts off saying this, Barnabas and Paul. Now, Barnabas and Paul had gone there. And up until chapter 13 of Acts, everything that was said about Barnabas and Paul, the missionary team, started with the word Barnabas and added Paul to it. But if you notice, if you read the book of Acts chapter 13, right at the end, it says this, and Paul and Barnabas. And from that time on, it says Paul and Barnabas. Well, what was that about? Well, what happened was Barnabas realized that Paul had advanced to the point where he needed to take the leadership role. And that wasn't an issue with Barnabas, because for Barnabas, the whole issue was that the cause went forward. And that's something special that is shown with the ministry of encouragement. It assumes a humble role. It doesn't need the pat on the back. It doesn't need the footnote at the bottom of the page. Often it comes in an envelope which just has your name on it with no one else saying, hey, from this individual. Many times it comes delivered by someone who you don't even know, or someone says, hey, someone gave this to me to give to you, to somehow make a difference. Encouragement does not think about its own advancement, but it thinks about the other person's advancement, and particularly, it thinks about the advancement of the kingdom of God. This is true. This is something which is absolutely special, and it is some of the hardcore aspects of encouragement. An example. Many of us who have been in school had learned about Isaac Newton, the fellow who had the apple drop on his head, and he figured out what the process was and all the figures out for the laws of gravity. And people don't realize that we would have never ever heard of Isaac Newton if it wasn't for Edmund Halley. Edmund Halley was the one who says, what you're doing is good. You need to go and further on in this. And even though he was kind of hesitant and said no, what he did was he corrected some of his mathematical errors. And what he did is he created some of the figures to support his discoveries. And so what he did is he coaxed Newton to write his primary thesis, which ended up becoming the thing which we hang a number of the things that we know today in science upon. He made him, he supervised, and he edited the book. And not only that, Newton still didn't want to go ahead with it. And so what Edmund Halley did is he sat there and says, I will pay for it. Newton had more money than Halley, but Halley was the one who actually financed the book that became the text that we know today, which talks about all the issues of gravity. Right immediately, Newton became famous and was able to have all these things happen because of it. Nobody really knew who Edmund Halley is. Well, Edmund Halley took some of the principles and kind of talked about a comet that was going to come by every 76 years. It's called Halley's Comet. Perhaps you've heard of it. But it wasn't called Halley's Comet while he was alive. See, the thing with Halley was he didn't give a care who really got the credit. What had to happen was the cause had to go forward. Same thing that John the Baptist said, I must decrease, he must increase. It is about the kingdom of God. I found that maybe the most impactful things that you will do to encourage people, you will never ever find out about. We plant the seed, we kind of want to see it grow. But you know what, in God's economy, sometimes the most powerful times of encouragement are things that you won't find out about until you actually get to heaven. There is something about the fact that when we encourage people, we don't really need to know, they don't really need to know, because really at the end of the day, it's about having us all get to heaven, isn't it? So there's something to be thankful to God for.